haven't subscribed already, don't be a ninja watcher. Hit that subscribe button right there. Turn on that notification bell. I appreciate you guys so much.
I want to pay attention to this. Learning in school is outcome-based learning. After that, in the real world, it's more so input or process-based learning. And so I always found this fascinating. I was a teacher about 5 years. Today we'll be talking about 2 principles that will help you never be broke again and also improve your financial literacy. Big reason I'm doing this is because I've been noticing as I do more of these consultation calls, people want to build wealth, people want to get into real estate, have multiple sources of income, but some folks are actually worse off than broke. Some people have way more debt than they have assets. And this means they actually have to work hard to be broke, right? So when I first wrote the book, How to Never Be Broke Again, the goal was just for like the ideal person I was thinking about is someone who's like, stuck at being broke. Maybe they make some money, they get their first $1,000, but then life happens, they get back down to like having a net worth of 0. I never really addressed people that were worse off than broke, people in debt in this book. And I wanted to make these classes for free, give this out, and then set people up so we can actually address the folks that are worse off than broke, right? So we'll be talking about that today. I'm just going to pour myself a coffee a little bit. Just doing a coffee challenge. Haven't had my first cup of coffee just yet. We do 4 cups a day. But anyway, let's jump into it. So I'm going to share with you guys the first slide here. Let's pull this up. Where is it? Have it. Mission 6. Mission 7. I guess let's put this up for now. No, I didn't get sick. I just had a little bit of a cough. Thanks for joining. Thanks for asking, Subban. So, today's session. Knowledge is power, but only if you take action. Okay, so Seth Godin has this quote: learning is not watching a video, learning is taking action and then seeing what happens. Okay, this is my big irk with like the traditional educational system, is that it's not necessarily input or process based. It's outcome based, like I mentioned. So what does that mean? That means that if you don't hit the outcome, you technically fail, right? So what if people just like don't have that outcome or like can't reach it the first try? Well, they immediately get that feedback loop of like, okay, on that first try, they failed because they didn't hit the outcome. Versus if we focused on the inputs, this is how real life actually works. We can actually control inputs. We cannot control outcomes. Okay. You can study for hours, put in a bunch of work, practice the exercises. Maybe you're in a math class or a science class or whatever. And then the day of the exam, you find out that your mom and dad die in a car accident, right? That's not in your control. And then if that affects your test results, well, now you just failed because you didn't hit the outcome. Versus if the inputs were what was measured, and then we had a way to document that process and get the learner to understand that it's the inputs that are important in the process that they go through, then that's how we essentially learn how to build knowledge and take action. And how does this apply to building wealth? Okay, so there's a ton of books on wealth building. I have a book on wealth building, How to Never Be Broke Again. There's, Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's The Psychology of Money. There's all these interesting books. Books never actually help until you take action on them. Right? You can read all these books, but if you don't apply the concepts, then we're just wasting time. And this is why in this free class, I've been giving homework pieces, missions every single day so that you actually apply what we're learning. All right. That's a big key here. You could forget about the principle, but if you apply what we learned, you'll work towards taking that information and actually turning it into knowledge. I truly believe that a person does not have any knowledge on a subject whatsoever until they can take action on that. Like someone is not financially literate until they're taking the moves towards moving towards a positive net worth. Maybe you don't have a positive net worth just yet. That's fine. But we should know the steps to move towards that. Making more than we spend, making sure we have multiple sources of income, making sure that we're actually tracking our budgets and know how much is our liabilities, how much is our assets, how much are we cash flowing each month. Okay? Those are all key. And if we don't take action on that, very difficult to get ahead financially. All right. And this is the key whenever you're learning something. One of the tricks I learned, and this is going to help you guys out, especially the ones that love to consume content but are still stuck in that analysis phase. Like I'll chat with people that have these big goals and want to hit them, but take 6 to 8 months to take action. Like that's way too slow. Right? The moment you learn something, literally right when you get off that video, get off that call, get off that class, get off that course, whatever it is, we should already be finding what's the minimum that you could do to apply it. Right. Or at least plan for the week to apply what we learn. Right? And we kind of want to speed up that process. That's why I have like the speed of implementation program where I really show people, okay, how do you make a plan? How do you get clarity on that? How do we start using leverage with that clarity and leverage other people's time, other people's money, other people's expertise and different systems around maybe even AI, right? How do we add that leverage to speed this whole process up? Also help people just like, okay, you're adding to your knowledge base, you're taking action. What are some things that we could just eliminate? What should we just delete? Okay, different mindsets that no longer serve us. What are some tools or tasks, I should say activities probably that no longer serve us? I've drastically reduced how much alcohol I drink. Okay, that doesn't necessarily serve me. I'll have a few drinks here and there when I'm hanging out with some friends or whatnot, but it's not like I'm doing that every weekend. I'm not even doing that monthly. The idea there is that we gotta take action on what we learn. Okay. Taking notes is fine. Watching videos and podcasts is fine. But if we're not taking action on it, we're one, wasting our full potential. And two, we're wasting the opportunities where we could be helping other people, right? I think that all knowledge doesn't just help the learner, but when applied, it can actually help the world, right? And this is why I'm such a key believer that anything that is learned should be applied almost ASAP, especially if it's to get that feedback to see if that knowledge is actually based in reality. Okay. Because if not, and it doesn't work, that's fine. At least we know that knowledge piece, we took action on it, we got some feedback, maybe figured out that it doesn't work, or maybe our approach doesn't work. But now we get to test out our information in the real world. Okay. So the mission on this one is, get some books on finances, go to some seminars, take some courses, even all this could be free, and then always apply what you learn in real life ASAP. Okay. A trick that I was going to go back onto, I forgot to mention, if I'm ever doing like a free course or a free video, I will actually write on top of my page on notes that I paid $70,000 USD for this. And this tricks my brain to start taking this information a little bit more seriously, a lot more seriously, even if it's a free book. Okay. Then I have what's called, there's two kind of action steps that I do. One action step is usually specific to like my practice of teaching, like the art and science of teaching. I'll make cloud bubbles in my notes, and then I'll take different teaching techniques and I'll put them in there. If I see a nice teaching technique or something I find interesting, maybe I'm watching a video and then I notice that, person used an example to compare let's say cash flow in a business and cash flow in a real estate, whatever it is. I'll make a little note, like, oh, okay, I could use that to teach. Then I'll also make a box, and in that box will be action steps, and I'll put missions. So I'm trying to find missions when I learn new things, just like I'm presenting with you guys here, so that when I learn something new, I have a means and a way to apply it. Okay. I never want to like go through a program, go through a course, go through a video, and then not learn something. And even worse, not apply the thing that I learned. Okay. I need to apply it in real life. That's how you turn into knowledge. And that's what I encourage you guys to do as well. Another one is review all the previous missions in the previous sections of this course, and then make sure you actually complete them. I put these missions in there for a reason. This is going to be key for you to continue learning. Just going to pour some coffee out. You have things that you've learned so far this week, let's say. Could be on money, could be on real estate. Share them in the chat. And then also talk about when you learned something this week, what is that something that you learned this week? Put it in the chat. And then how did you apply it this week? So again, you didn't actually get knowledge if you learned something, but you didn't apply it. So what did you learn this week? And then how did you apply it in real life? Welcome Dom to chat. Next, you're going to be talking about moving towards a net worth paradigm and why this is important. So income is how much money you make. Net worth is how much money you keep. Okay? Net worth is a lot more important, in my opinion, because this is what helps us move away from being broke, away from being in debt, and towards a positive net worth. And our calculation of our freedom number, our financial security, financial independence, and absolute financial freedom numbers are based on net worth, not necessarily income. And this is why I believe that net worth is more important than income. Once you get into a habit of being in that paradigm, being in that view that net worth is going up and we're moving towards that, then income can come in, right? You could always increase income afterwards anyway. Now, I know that there's the opposite philosophy, and I want to make sure that, I'm not just giving you ideologies, I'm giving you an actual way to think through this using critical thinking, right? It's a big reason of why I teach what I teach. But to play devil's advocate, let's say you focus on income, right? Let's put income first. If you focus on income first, it can be very easy to have that lifestyle creep. That being said, that's kind of the counter argument, counter argument against putting net income first. But I do understand that if you have a high income, it is easier to build that net worth. The issue is it takes skill and time to build a high income. It takes equally enough time, maybe even less skill, to build up your net worth. And if you're investing in your net worth and adding to it and adding assets that are actually cash flowing, you're actually doing both. As you increase your net worth, you're increasing your income as well. Versus it's very possible to increase your income and then not increase your net worth. So that's kind of why I do focus on having a net worth paradigm instead of just an income paradigm. So how do you actually calculate net worth? Net worth is just your total assets minus all your liabilities, all your debts. Okay. Very simple calculation. And it gives us something that we did cover this earlier, so I'll just do this really quickly. All your assets minus all your liabilities, all your assets, things that put money in your pocket, minus all your debts. That's going to be your net worth. A positive net worth, awesome. We're moving towards financial security, financial freedom. Okay. Zero is a net worth. Maybe you have $300 in your bank account. You owe $300. Technically, you're at zero. Technically, you're broke. You could also be broke by having just no cash and no debt. That's still broke. You could also be broke having $1 million in cash and $1 million in debt. Okay, that's still broke. Then there is being in debt, and that is having more debt than assets. Okay. If you have like 20 grand in assets, but then $50,000 in debt, you are in broke $30,000. So you need to work hard to pay someone else that $30,000 for you to consider yourself broke. Okay. So in my book, in How to Never Be Broke Again, it really covers more so how to not go back down to zero. I don't necessarily cover too much how to go from negative to zero. So like when you're worse off than broke to never being broke again. Um, I'll give you a few key things that you could do, and this is going to actually help with your net worth now that we know that you're in that paradigm. So the net worth, if it's under zero, I actually look at it as, okay, now this is where we got to take a ton of action. We got to learn new things. We got to be able to figure out new ways to think about and take action on our goals, because what we were doing before was not helping, right? Even if you increased income, if we're not getting out of that negative net worth, then what we were doing, how we were functioning, was not working in the past. And this takes a certain level of humility to accept. And I had to go through this as well. Like when I first started in the financial industry, I looked at my income, I looked at my, like, I wasn't worse off than broke. I was just basically broke, right? Like I would make, a few $1,000 and we go back down to zero. I didn't have a credit card till I was like 22, pretty much. So when I was like 17, 18, money would come in, but then money would just be spent. And I'm like, hey, I like, what's going on? And that's why I went through that journey to learn financial literacy, put all these principles together, search for them, and essentially put together this plan to never be broke again, to just always be adding assets. And then I could take a little bit more risk by taking on some debts because I have assets to hedge against that, to basically protect me against that, reduce that risk. But something that will help people that are in debt. Let's say you're in debt, you got to pay that off. A big one is you want to look at debt repayment as almost a savings account, especially if you have credit card debt. Okay, I do this all the time where I'll just like make big chunks to my credit card. The reason is you're probably not getting close to 20% ROI per year on your investments. Okay. Maybe you are. If you are, let me know. I'd love to chat with you. Like those are awesome returns. Okay. But the average person isn't. So if you can pay your debts, pay that credit card that is costing you 20% a year, that is an immediate return to your pocket. So if you're in debt, if you have more debt than assets, the priority should be paying down that debt and even adding assets. It's going to depend on your financial literacy and your intelligence level. That being said, if you're a little bit more financially literate, you understand, okay, I got to add assets to increase my net worth, not just reduce debt, because you can reduce your debt to zero. The best that you'll become is broke if you don't add any assets. Let's say you don't add any assets whatsoever. The best you can get to by reducing debt is broke. Okay. Because you'll just take your debt to zero. But if you have zero net worth, you're still broke. Right. So paying down debt only goes so far. It is key to add those assets. So if you're a little bit more financially literate, intelligent, you'll actually focus on adding assets while paying down debt. Even if it's just only adding $50 a month towards your assets. Maybe you're just buying some REITs or you're putting just straight up cash aside to be able to invest in real estate. Let's say invest in a business or like some stocks, whatever it is. Maybe you're buying some crypto. But if you get in the habit of consistently buying and adding to those assets, adding to your financial statement there, well, as your assets go up and your debt goes down, then you're going to be increasing your net worth. Okay. But I do like to focus on the assets. Just like I mentioned earlier, if you add more assets, you're also increasing your income. Okay. So homework piece here. Let's see if I have this. I have this calculator I can pass you guys, but there's a net worth calculator I have. Let's see if I can put this here. If you guys want to scan this, you guys can get access to this. This is basically a net worth calculator. Great tool that's going to help you get to that next level, make sure that you can automate your calculation of your net worth. And then I don't have it here, but if you DM me on Instagram, I'll be able to send you this net worth template. Now, you can actually totally calculate your net worth without using a template. It's pretty easy. That being said, if you need the tools, got the tools here for you, completely free. You just scan this, make sure you get this net worth calculator, and then you can start figuring out what's your net worth, how do we attack this, and make sure that we are moving towards a positive net worth. Cool. Oh, got longer chat. Cool. So that's kind of today's session there. Got some Q&A we could do. If you guys have questions, comments, critiques, or concerns, let me know. It could be on real estate, or it could be on, financial literacy. Maybe you have other questions. Drop them in the chat, and I will answer them. And I'll take a moment to help you guys answer your financial literacy questions. To quickly recap, what we talked about today was moving towards a net worth paradigm, the importance of actually tracking our net worth and using that as a guide to our financial health. And the other one is the importance of knowledge is power, but only if you take action. If we don't take action on our goals, it doesn't actually help, because you're just like learning info. We're not actually taking the steps. Right? Something I learned is I'm looking to buy small businesses to make it that I can actually put those businesses together to acquire more real estate and increase my income. Part of what I've learned is that 90% of the job is sales and marketing, whether I'm getting leads. And I already had a feeling about this because this is how we functioned with the real estate. But it's also how I function with all my other small businesses. It's 95% marketing and sales, which means 95% of my day is generating leads. Now, once I learned that, I actually applied that into my day-to-day routine. So I'll have blocks of 3 to 4 hours, usually about 3 hours and a 1 hour break. And then 2 of those hours, I'm just doing marketing, right? The next hour, I'm in, maybe it's production, like making videos like this, actually teaching my students. And then the other, maybe like last hour is some administration tasks and then connecting with the team. But more than half of my time is going towards sales and marketing because I need those leads. I got to find businesses that necessarily want to sell. I got to find properties that could be good deals. I got to essentially, get some marketing to see who are the students that want our help, that we can actually help them out, build them that custom real estate roadmap, and then see, okay, how do we benefit and fast track these people's success? And then who are these people? Like, how do we reach out to them, right? So after learning that, then it was key to actually apply that. And what I like to do when I apply new things is I'll actually book them into an agenda, right? Because if it's not in my agenda, it's not happening. Okay. Anyone got some questions on real estate, financial literacy, or even just questions that you might have? Drop them in the chat if you're watching on a live stream. If you guys are watching the recording in the future, put them in the chat anyway, put them in the comments anyway. I'll still read all the comments. I'll answer all those questions, and I'd love to help you out with that. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? Questions? If not, I'm going to jump off here shortly. We got one more session on this, which we'll be covering tomorrow. This is what we'll be looking at: cash flow management, and then reaching that financial independence number. See how we fast track that. So today we actually looked at net worth and how to apply knowledge that you're learning. Big key thing that I want you guys to take away here is that whenever you learn something, create a mission to apply that ASAP. Don't just be a passive learner. Okay. It's not the best way to learn. The best way to learn is called active learning, where you learn something and preferably you do it ASAP, or even you show someone how to do it. So teaching is actually one of the best ways to learn, next to simulated experience, next to real experience. Okay? Simulated experience is actually a better way to learn than real experience. And the reason is because you can take risks in a simulation, but you do need both, right? You do need to not just practice, but actually do the real thing.
The knowledge I had with real estate wasn't that great, and that's when I knew I needed a mentor to guide me through the steps of minimizing my mistakes and obtaining property. It kept me accountable with the limited time I had after the long hours at work. It taught me things I wouldn't have learned without a mentor.
Thank you to Patrick. It's big help, helped me with pretty much everything ever since I started. So big shout out to Patrick and Alliance.
Nice. Yeah, Nick's an action taker, so we can help guide you, but you still got to do the work, and Nick is a testimonial for that.
Sure.
And thank you again, Patrick, for this program. It changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed everything. That was the best six weeks of my life.
I just want to give a shout out to my man Patrick. Just honestly been one of the best teachers that I've ever had.
It's a very informative course. Patrick works with you one-on-one, so if there's any questions or anything you might be doubting or you're uncertain of, he'll definitely be there to help. Honestly, highly suggest this course. It's taught me a lot through my journey.